In one of Detroit's most exclusive neighborhoods, the Queen of Soul commissioned a custom rose-red clawfoot bathtub carved from Italian and Spanish marble and positioned it for one purpose, so she could soak while looking out over a private golf course in her own backyard. That tub is still there today. And trust me, the story behind it is one of the most fascinating on this entire list. But here's the thing. To understand how Aretha Franklin came to inhabit a space like that, down to hand-carved brass door handles shaped like roses on everything she touched, you have to see the world of Detroit's richest black queens she ruled alongside. A gospel legend who built a recording studio compound in her basement. A mansion that once hosted Senator Barack Obama and Motown royalty under the same roof. Empires built one album, one Bond deal, one rescued landmark at a time. So before we get to that Rose Estate and the single property that tops even it, with more famous names and more history than anywhere else on this list, we're touring 8 of the most luxurious mansions these women ever called home. And they only get crazier as we climb. By the time we reach number 1, you'll understand exactly what kind of wealth we're really talking about. Let's start at number 8. Number 8. Karen Clark Sheard's West Bloomfield Colonial, Gospel Royalties Family Estate. If you grew up in a black household that played gospel music, Karen Clark Sheard's voice is somewhere in your memory. As one of the Clark sisters, one of the most decorated groups in gospel history, and a celebrated solo artist in her own right, Sheard built a career defined by a vocal range that genuinely defies explanation. The house she and her husband Bishop J. Drew Sheard built in West Bloomfield reflects that same level of intentionality. The estate at 6286 Branford Drive was completed in March 2000, sitting on a lush quarter-acre lot in the Wyndham Point subdivision, a clean, desirable West Bloomfield neighborhood that blends quiet suburban comfort with serious property values. At 3,823 square feet, it's the most intimate property on this list, but the layout punches well above that number in terms of what it actually delivers. 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a soaring 2-story grand foyer greeting you at the door, a custom fireplace in the family room, a built-in wet bar, and a gourmet kitchen with built-in gas ranges and premium wood cabinetry throughout. The primary suite has its own fireplace and a spa bathroom centered around a high-end jetted tub, which at this point should just be a standard feature for anyone on this list. Outside, there's a professional exterior lighting setup, an expansive wood deck, and a private hot tub overlooking the landscaped lot. Classic Colonial contemporary hybrid. Brick, wood, and vinyl over a poured concrete foundation. The kind of home that ages gracefully rather than dating itself. Here's the layer that makes this property genuinely interesting beyond the specs. The house became the primary filming location for the BET reality series, The Sheards, which gave a national audience a full interior tour of how a gospel music dynasty actually lives. The whole country watched this family move through those rooms, which is a specific kind of visibility that most luxury properties in West Bloomfield never receive. In 2022, the family did a complete interior remodel, updated finishes throughout, and listed it at up to $1.4 million before it sold in July 2025 for $980,000. A quarter-century of gospel history captured in one colonial contemporary estate in West Bloomfield. But our next property wasn't built for a celebrity. It was rescued from erasure by 2 sisters who decided a 150-year-old landmark wasn't going to disappear on their watch. Number 7, the Cochran House, 2 sisters, and a decision that changed Brush Park. In 2013, sisters Roderica and Francina James bought a gutted, severely dilapidated Victorian-era mansion at 216 Winder Street in Detroit's Brush Park neighborhood and decided to bring it back. Not flip it, not tear it down for the lot. Bring it back, meticulously, intentionally, and with a clear vision for what it would become. The Cochran House was originally erected in 1870 for Dr. John Terry, a prominent eye physician, and sits in a neighborhood that was historically nicknamed the Little Paris of the Midwest. Brush Park was Detroit's most fashionable residential district in the late 19th century. Italianate mansions lining the streets, wealthy industrialists as neighbors, the full picture of Gilded Age urban luxury. Then decades of disinvestment hit, and most of those mansions either fell into ruin or were demolished. The Cochran House survived, barely, and the James sisters are the reason it's still standing. The renovation transformed the 150-year-old structure into an upscale boutique bed and breakfast that blends five-star hospitality with African-American cultural heritage, and the interior design tells that story at every level. The first floor features modern, chic furniture alongside curated art pieces celebrating Detroit's Black artists. It functions as a gallery as much as a lobby. The second floor houses the guest suites, each themed after Paradise Valley, Detroit's historic Black entertainment and business district that was the cultural heartbeat of the city during the mid-20th century before urban renewal effectively erased it. The Melodic Room. The Jazz Fusion Room, complete with a private walkout balcony. Each suite running roughly 250 square feet with premium linens and elegant freestanding soaking tubs. The architecture is Italianate, strict design symmetry, prominent overhanging bracketed windows, the kind of structural language that says 1870 the moment you see it and has looked good every decade since. Now, let's move from a rescued landmark to a woman who had a completely different philosophy about keeping her assets safe. All cash, always. Number 6. Aretha Franklin's Bloomfield Hills Colonial, the Queen's gated suburban fortress. Before we get to the more famous Aretha property later in this countdown, we need to talk about this one, because it tells you something specific about how Aretha Franklin thought about money, security, and privacy that none of the other entries quite capture. Aretha had a rule that was legendary in the entertainment industry. She didn't trust the system to pay her correctly, so she demanded her performance fees upfront, in cash, and she carried that cash onto the stage herself in her handbag. Not because she needed to, because she'd learned, early and thoroughly, what happens to Black artists who trust other people to manage their money. The Bloomfield Hills estate is a physical extension of that same philosophy. The property is a 4,148 square foot brick colonial situated in an ultra-exclusive gated community approximately 20 miles northwest of downtown Detroit. 5 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, multiple fireplaces, a custom 3-car garage, and multi-tiered wood decks overlooking the wooded common areas of the enclave. The primary bathroom is equipped with a premium jetted tub and a private integrated sauna room, which, for someone with a performance schedule as demanding as Aretha's, is less of a luxury and more of a professional necessity. The community provides private access to an Olympic-sized pool and professional tennis courts for residents. This was her primary suburban retreat for decades, the place she disappeared to between tours, between studio sessions, between the relentless demands of being one of the most celebrated voices in American music history. It was quiet, gated, and genuinely private in a way that a high-profile downtown address could never be. After her passing in August 2018, the estate went to market at $800,000 and subsequently appreciated to $1.2 million. A 50% increase driven by the combination of her legacy and rising suburban demand. The cash in the handbag, the gated enclave, the sauna. All of it was Aretha building a life that nobody could take from her, one deliberate decision at a time. That's one Aretha Franklin property. We have more of her mansions in this list, the one with the rose-red bathtub and the golf course out the back. But first, let's look at how the CEO of Shank & Company lives like. Number 5. Suzanne Shank's Martel Drive, Manor, where a trillion-dollar career comes home. Most people on this list are household names. Suzanne Shank is not, and the gap between her relative public obscurity and the actual weight of what she's built is the most striking thing about this entry. Shank is the co-founder, CEO, and majority shareholder of Siebert Williams Shank & Company, which is the top-ranked minority and woman-owned municipal bond underwriter in the United States. Her firm has underwritten over $1 trillion in corporate bond, municipal bond, and equity transactions. That is not a typo. $1 trillion. Flowing through a firm that a Black woman from Detroit built and controls. The estate at 55 Martel Drive in Bloomfield Hills was purchased by Shank and her husband, Sean Wardlow, in September 2013 for $2.15 million, slightly below the original $2.45 million listing price, which tells you the woman negotiates everything. Built in 1985, The property is a two-story brick and wood colonial spanning 6,250 square feet on a highly private 1.06-acre parcel in one of Bloomfield Hills' most prestigious subdivisions. 5 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, multiple fireplaces including a private gas fireplace in the primary suite, a built-in wet bar, and a multi-room professional sound system integrated throughout the main living areas. The backyard is designed for serious entertaining. A large in-ground pool, a full pool cabana, a hot tub, a built-in outdoor barbecue, a spacious wood deck, and a paved concrete patio, all enclosed behind security fencing. This is a home built around the specific requirements of corporate and political hosting at the highest level. The kind of entertaining that happens when your professional world includes senators, city officials, and institutional investors. The current market valuation sits between $2.9 million and $3.6 million, which means the property has appreciated significantly since the 2013 purchase. Smart negotiation on the way in, solid appreciation on the way out. Even in real estate, she plays the long game. The next mansion is a different kind of empire. Built one gospel album at a time, and celebrated with a 2-day sale that drew thousands of people to her front door. Number 4. Vicki Winans' South Hills Road Estate, the recording studio compound that threw the party of the decade. Vicki Winans spent 21 years in her custom estate at 600 South Hills Road in Bloomfield Hills, and the property functioned less like a home and more like a self-contained creative enterprise. Which makes sense, because Winans was running a self-contained creative enterprise the entire time she lived there. She managed her own record label, Destiny Joy Records. She ran her own booking agency. She designed custom jewelry lines. She performed up to 200 shows a year. And underneath all of that, in the basement of her Bloomfield Hills mansion, she had a state-of-the-art professional recording studio where she tracked her music, managed her audio production, and ran the operational backend of her entire label. A Grammy-caliber recording setup in a residential basement in a Bloomfield Hills subdivision. That combination is exactly as impressive as it sounds. The mansion itself spans between 8,899 and 10,000 square feet across 19 custom-furnished rooms, 4 massive bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, grand entertaining foyers, formal dining halls, and custom closet suites purpose-built to house her legendary collection of performance gowns, designer hats, and 30 luxury fur coats. The scale of her wardrobe alone required architectural planning. When your closet suite needs to accommodate a fur collection that would fill a retail boutique, you're not doing standard storage solutions. In 2014, when Winans decided to relocate to Hollywood to pursue film production, she announced what she called the estate sale of the century, a 2-day public event held directly inside the mansion. Thousands of fans and collectors showed up to buy 19 rooms of furniture, the 30 fur coats, the high-end studio equipment, electronics, and thousands of personal catalog CDs. She addressed the inevitable financial difficulty rumors directly and dismissed them entirely. This was a clearing of accumulated assets to fund her next chapter, nothing more. The property was valued between $1.2 and $1.5 million. The estate sale alone reportedly generated significant capital. Even the exit was strategic. 21 years, a basement recording studio, and an exit that drew thousands of people to her door. But our next entry drew a completely different kind of attention. 120 feet of Lake St. Clair waterfront and a Grammy legend who fought the entire music industry to own her music. Number 3. Anita Baker's Lake St. Clair Sanctuary, the waterfront estate of a woman who won every battle. Anita Baker is one of the greatest vocalists of the 20th century. 8 Grammy Awards, a voice that redefined what R&B could sound like in the 1980s and 1990s, and a level of commercial success that should have translated directly into generational wealth. The reason it almost didn't is a story that Baker fought for decades to correct, and the Lake St. Clair estate is where she lived while she was doing it. Baker spent years in a legal battle to reclaim ownership of her master recordings, the original recorded versions of her songs that generate royalties every time they're played, licensed, or streamed. Most artists from her era signed those rights away early and never got them back. Baker refused to accept that outcome. She fought until she won, And in doing so, she transformed from a highly paid performer into what the music industry would now call a sovereign corporate entity, a business that earns indefinitely from a catalog she fully owns. That battle was happening while she lived at 2 Dodge Place in Grosse Pointe. The estate itself is a stately brick mansion built in 1987, spanning 7,324 square feet on a gated 0.66-acre cul-de-sac lot with 120 feet of direct Lake St. Clair water frontage. Panoramic, unobstructed lake views from the living areas. 4 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms, a private waterfront setting that offers the kind of quiet that a woman in the middle of a years-long legal campaign genuinely needs. The location carries its own weight. The property sits on the exact grounds where Horace Dodge, of the Dodge automotive family, built his legendary Rose Terrace neoclassical estate, completed in 1934 for $9 million, one of the largest private homes in American history before its demolition in 1976. Anita Baker bought the land underneath one of Detroit's most storied addresses and made it her own. The home was listed in late 2023 for $1.85 million, after sitting vacant for several years, marketed as a waterfront opportunity with musical pedigree and the option to either restore or rebuild from scratch. As a resident of Grosse Pointe, the owner also gets exclusive access to 2 private residents-only waterfront parks. The address alone is worth the price of entry. Now, it's time to unveil the Aretha property we've been building toward, and it is exactly what you'd expect from a woman who put rose-shaped brass door handles on everything she touched. Number 2. Aretha Franklin's Palmer Woods Rose Estate, the Queen's most personal property. In 1993, Aretha Franklin acquired a 3-story Tudor-style brick mansion at 18,261 Hamilton Road in Palmer Woods, one of Detroit's most exclusive residential neighborhoods, and proceeded to transform it into the most personally expressive property in this entire countdown. The home was built in 1927, spanning between 5,600 and 5,700 square feet, across 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and 3 fireplaces. It backs directly onto the 6th and 7th holes of the North Course of the historic Detroit Golf Club, which means the backyard is, effectively, a private golf course view with no fence between the lawn and the fairway. The Great Hall features 30-foot soaring ceilings with exposed heavy timber wood beams and massive 2-story bay windows that pull natural light into the space from every angle. Wide plank red oak flooring, pegged in place nearly a century ago, still runs through the house exactly as it was originally installed. A formal dining room, a private library, and a stone-arched solarium complete the main level layout. Then Franklin moved in, and she went to work on the details. She was recording A Rose is Still a Rose, her 1998 gold-certified album, while living here, and the creative energy of that project is physically embedded in the house. She commissioned hand-carved brass door handles shaped in the motif of roses throughout the property. A custom-ordered Maria Theresa crystal chandelier in the Great Hall, fitted with fine purple crystals. A custom rose-patterned carpet in the grand foyer. Rose wallpaper in the primary bedroom, which was converted into an expansive dressing suite with a 4-poster bed. And then there's the bathtub, a custom rose-red Kohler clawfoot soaking tub, selected personally by Franklin, installed in the primary bathroom, finished in premium Italian and Spanish marble, and positioned specifically to look out over the adjacent golf course. That single detail, that specific placement, says everything about how Aretha Franklin inhabited a space. She didn't just move into a house, she curated an experience. After her passing, the estate sold in October 2018 for $300,000, a price that reflected the renovation work required rather than the cultural significance of the address. The subsequent buyers chose restoration over renovation, preserving Franklin's original structural choices, including the red clawfoot tub, and installed a semi-concert grand piano in the exact hall where Franklin's piano once stood. The rose-red tub is still there. It was never going anywhere. That's one of the most iconic interiors in Detroit's residential history. And yet, the property coming in at number 1 has hosted more famous names, carries more historical weight, and was rescued from near ruin by one woman's 2-year mission to save it. Number 1. The Motown Mansion, How Cynthia Reaves Saved Detroit's Most Historically Significant Home. 918. West Boston Boulevard is one of those addresses that carries so much history, it almost feels like a civic landmark rather than a private residence, which is essentially what it became. And the woman responsible for that transformation is Cynthia Reaves, a corporate tax attorney, presidential advisor to Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton, and the person who looked at a deteriorating mansion that had been sitting largely vacant for nearly 2 decades and decided she was going to bring it back. The mansion was built in 1917 by Danish lumber baron Niels Michelsen, a 10,500 square foot Italian Renaissance revival masterpiece, featuring 9 bedrooms, 5 full bathrooms, and 3 half baths. Bronze front and rear doors, honed limestone walls, European stained glass windows, a 25 by 44 foot main living room paneled entirely in solid black walnut with an imported Italian marble fireplace and a historic Persian rug that stays with the property. A quarter-sawn oak library. A formal dining room with a black and white tiled marble floor. A solarium enclosed on 3 sides by Tiffany-style stained glass French doors with an ornate working marble mosaic fountain inside it. A lower-level English pub with heavy wood-beamed ceilings carved with decorative European gargoyles. A third-floor ballroom lined with solid marble columns. And a basement projection theater originally designed to screen early MGM studio films. Between 1967 and 2002, this was Berry Gordy's home, the private headquarters of the man who built Motown Records and fundamentally changed the sound of American music. Mary Wilson came through these rooms. Marvin Gaye. The Motown elite in the home of the man who ran their world. Then Gordy left, and the property sat. For nearly 20 years, one of the most historically significant residences in Detroit deteriorated quietly in Boston-Edison. Reeves bought it in 2002 and spent 2 years and millions of dollars on a restoration so thorough and so faithful to the original architecture that the state of Michigan awarded her the Historic Preservation Award in 2006, and specifically noted that she was the first individual, rather than an architectural firm, to ever receive that honor. That distinction matters. It means a single person, operating with personal conviction and personal capital, achieved a preservation standard that professional firms typically reach with teams and institutional resources. And then she opened the doors, political fundraisers, charitable galas, millions raised for the United Way, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Police Athletic League. Among the guests who moved through these restored rooms, Senator Barack Obama, Governor Jennifer Granholm, Mary Wilson, and Martha Reeves, who signed the bowling alley seats in the separate 4,500 square foot athletic building on the grounds, which also contains an Olympic-size indoor swimming pool, a fully functional bowling alley, a gymnasium, a billiards room, and a lounge. The athletic building, the 5-car carriage house with 2 overhead apartments, the 2.2-acre grounds, all of it restored, all of it active, all of it serving the community that surrounds it. Reeves sold the property in August 2017 for $1.65 million, the second highest residential sale price in the city of Detroit that year. She didn't just preserve a building, she proved that one person with the right vision and the commitment to see it through can rescue a piece of history that an entire city had quietly given up on. That's what our number 1 looks like. And with that note, it's a wrap on the 8 luxurious mansions owned by 8 richest Black queens in Detroit. Which one of these properties impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and if this one was worth your time, subscribe to Black Status, because we drop such interesting peeks into Black wealth regularly. Catch you in the next one.